Hey, good afternoon, and welcome to today's episode of Challenges in the Street. Happy to bring our first episode of 2023 live from the Public Service Training Academy. Today, we're here to talk about two topics actually. One is the department's acquired structure training program, and then we wanted to catch up with some more about lithium ion battery fires and actually just battery fires in general. So, kind of a two-part today. We do have a 1 hour time slot allocated to that. As always, we ask that if you're following along on the YouTube with the chat, sign in with your fire service ID and your name. And if you are watching from a firehouse, please take a moment to sign in with the number of folks that are watching and what station you're watching from. I also like to give a shout out to the folks who participated in the From the Command Post on the 9th. I believe that was the 9th. That was the plane crash in Gaithersburg. That was our largest viewership to date. So good job on that. Good job on everybody watching. And hopefully you got to see and learn about the insights about that rather unusual, right, once-in-a-lifetime type of call. Anyway, I want to get started. Captain Brady Miller is going to kind of moderate the two topics today, and I'm just going to turn it over to him and get started with the acquired structure training program. Captain?
Chief Davis, thank you very much. And for everybody out there, welcome to 2023 and Challenges in the Streets, as well as Boss Talks and the From the Command Post series. We're just going to jump right into this. First, let me introduce both of you. Captain Shelley Wheeler, in-service training coordinator here at the training school, and Captain Escalera, Battalion 3C, an instructor, if you will, right, with the acquired structure training program. And this really interests me, honestly. I think it's great that we have it. That's why I wanted to bring you into it. And talk about it. You know, we haven't done it really since the early 2000s with Rotor Road in downtown Silver Spring when we had the high rise and burned in it. And I know we've tried for years and years and years to have it. Kind of fell on its face for whatever reason, but now it's back in. And I think it's a great opportunity for the members of the organization to participate in. So if you would, tell us a little bit about, history of it, how you came, and what we're doing.
Sure. So I picked up kind of where Chief Pentier left off, kind of worked it backwards of what the issues were, why we couldn't get it up and running, and really tried to address those really through a deliberate risk management profile of, how can we overcome some of these things. One of the biggest things was the hold harmless with the legal agreement. We worked closely with legal and risk management.
We good?
We good?
Can you hear?
With legal and risk management, and so we got a standard hold harmless. I had done a bunch of research all across the country, different programs. They told me where.
Meaning with different fire departments?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, from Seattle to Texas, and made a couple trips to Howard and talked to a few other departments. So they kind of pointed me in the right direction of what some of the pitfalls were. I addressed those and worked closely with Chief Sanford at the time, and we were able to finally get it up and rolling.
How long did this take?
Roughly 2 years to get it up and rolling.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and one of the hardest things is besides the legal and hold harmless portion of it, is finding structures, which is why when we rolled this out, started with the instructor platform and explaining them the need. The more people that understand it, the more people that can bring us structures, the more training we can get involved in and keep this rolling.
Okay, so our current structure isn't the entire program, I guess. Like, when we use up the high-rise in downtown Silver Spring, we are going to move to a different area, a different structure, do you have a bunch of these lined up?
So that's correct. I do have one lined up in Rockville where we're going to be able to go in on a destructive format right off the bat. They're going to give us 3 months. That structure was brought to us by Chief Goldstein. He gave us the lead on that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so that was really neat. And then we're looking at a couple of the instructors that we work with. Once they figured out what to do, they brought a couple as well that we're looking into. The structure right now is very unique because it's in downtown Silver Spring, so with each structure, the training that we do, the number of units that we can bring in, it's gotta be adaptable. This particular one, we had to be able to scale down to 1 unit, just to support operations and because of parking and the tightness down there, so they'll be very adaptable,
So we're gonna have a different scenario in Rockville than we have in Silver Spring right now.
yes.
Okay. Are the scenarios designed by the training academy, by the instructors that are there, by the company officers? Who makes those up?
So part of bringing the instructors in and bringing in a fairly large pool of instructors is to have that, ability to imagine and be creative with scenarios. This particular one was one that I created, and I created just kind of with Captain Jimmy Graham and Captain Dietz, kind of bounced some things off them from dealing with high rises. And the whole idea is it's a different training. The scenario that we give, we are not expecting a certain outcome. We give them the scenario, and the crew's decision drives the outcome. And then we just talk about some very basic objectives that we would encounter in a high rise. And we have a conversation, and it's just been a lot of great feedback.
So company two's outcome, our scenario is gonna be the same, company 2, company 33, the same, but our actions might be different and we're not really looking for anything? Are we involving the battalion chiefs with this? Or feedback to the battalion chiefs?
Right now, where we started, we wanted to make sure that people really felt comfortable coming in. It's the place where we come in and learn where our strengths and weaknesses are, what we can do better. We really leave the onus on the officer at the end to go back and work with their crews, create more company level training based on what they saw. And that's the second part of this program, to open up the buildings and schedule for specific company level training. We just haven't gotten to that yet because of some issues we've had in there. And then the third level of it is to put on many classes through the academy where the instructors can facilitate some stuff, and we go through some skills and then do a scenario at the end, so get the max use out of them.
Are we tracking what companies are doing? Trends, I don't even know the right words to use. If everybody is doing X, are we kind of tracking that and say, hey, well, we really wanted Y to happen, let's design some training?
Yes, absolutely. That's,
You're not distracting at all, don't worry.
that's the other thing about it, right? That's one of the things that, talking to a lot of people around the country running these programs, we got to have the data to back it up.
Okay, so this may spin into monthly basic training or something like that.
Yeah, so it's interesting bringing it up. We're changing monthly basic training to basic training minutes, and we're going to kind of hand that to the field to do mini training scenarios and then create a video library. And from this training, we can also do the same with that. So everything is designed to kind of work together. And so there's a lot of little elements that over the last 2 years, everything's coming to fruition now, and we've been pretty busy up here. Chief Gibson coming up here, we've really we're just at that point.
He's the greatest.
Yeah, it's been a big help. I mean, he's been awesome, and taking that and just having that other person that's very engaged and understands the holistic approach. Everything's getting ready to roll out, and we want to engage the field a lot. This is basically, I would say, escalate. It's like company level training on steroids is what I call it, because we give the units what they need, that little extra, and we'll be able to facilitate that too, as well as company training. You want a smoke machine? What days? What days are you going to come up? And you'll do a facility request, and we'll schedule it. That's
So the current design is really what, an engine and an ambulance?
Yes, it's the current design is any one unit. We can adapt the scenario pretty
So
good.
I can't bring, Captain Miller can't bring engine 702 and ambulance 702.
You can. So it's designed to scale down to the smallest. It's scalable.
Okay.
The smallest to the largest. If we can bring in a truck, an engine, and an ambulance, that would be the ultimate, really. But it's very hard for operations to support that with everything else going on. And that was one of the things I learned early. Like, how do we just scale this down and get it done?
Okay. And I have the same question for both of you, but I want to ask Captain Mescalero first. What kind of feedback have you gotten from the field that has come in and done the scenario?
So it's funny because...
And I don't want to talk about the scenario.
No, absolutely
I'm
not.
guessing it's somewhat of a secret to see how people react?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that it doesn't need to be a secret, and it's all what you get out of it. So if you decide to give other folks some information, that's fine with us because it's really it would hamper your own training. So it's better for you just to go through it. Honestly, I sat down one afternoon and we spoke about I was hesitant in joining the program, and I'm glad that I have because it's exactly what I was looking forward to. Is realistic training in a realistic environment. We're not talking about concrete. We're not talking about like stuff stapled down to one spot.
So we're flowing water, putting lines in
Not
service,
yet,
stuff
not
like
yet, not yet. We're getting close, and I think that's where we're talking about phases. But
Okay.
and depending on how long we have a structure, right? So the thing is that as happily surprised I'm seeing that the same thing. Folks are hesitant to go up because it's on the tracker. People can see it ahead of time.
that. I'm sure the same thing happened to
Ongoing.
Road to Road, right?
Exactly. I'm going.
lot of sick
I don't
leave
want to
usage.
go. Right. Exactly. And then when they go up, because it's not a lengthy thing, we're like, you come in, do your thing, come out, and generally, what, an hour?
Yeah, it's
Total?
designed for an hour.
And that's
Yes.
with our feedback, right? So I haven't heard anything but awesome reviews, 5-star reviews.
And do you provide the scenario to me when I report in the morning? Do you
Yeah.
say, hey, hand me a piece of paper and say, this is the scenario? or-
Exactly. I mean, we don't really hand you the piece of paper. We kind of conference you in, I would say, right?
Yeah, I can go through that because
Yeah.
I've been running the main facilitation just to for the instructors can focus on a lot of other things. So I can go into
Yeah.
that after.
But the
he's
point
done.
is, it's not say, hey, go, and you get nothing. We don't want to trick or have anyone stumble. We just want them to take our folks, our personnel in the department, and see how we operate. Where can we fix? What mistakes or what weaknesses we can work upon at a company level. Now, if you want us to give you feedback, we'll give it to you happily. But I think
Are people
seeking?
seeking feedback from you as an instructor?
I would say so, yeah.
Or as an officer or facilitator?
Absolutely, absolutely. And that comes from company officer to company officer. And I think that's what we need to build is that relationship between respectfully say, hey, maybe think about this. Not necessarily you're wrong, but it's a thought. That's it.
Can I change the scenario if I want? If I come in and I say, hey,
I mean, you can't be
can
like
I add
the
this
fire's
to
over
us?
there now.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But yeah, you can
Okay.
You can
scenario-
adapt to it.
Adapt to it.
I
Exactly.
can't, can I say, hey, add a victim or something along those lines just to test my own company or
I
my own
think
company's
That's
capability?
company level.
Yes.
Company level, that's what we want
Not
you
there
to
yet.
do. But for this, no, because we're trying to run everyone through, and we are hitting those benchmarks and they're just general objectives. Are our people getting it done? And our people are getting it done, and everyone's doing it a little different, and they're getting it done.
Are we
So
doing things like apparatus positioning and on-scene reports and?
Yep.
we
things-
bake it
oh.
all in. It's
So it
it's
is
real-
IRP
yeah.
driven.
Yes.
Not to take that away.
No, as well as we
yeah.
shouldn't, right?
But it also allows, because even in IRP, allows folks to make decisions based on what they have. So I think to allude is that it's still a pilot program. So we have the training that we have set already just to see how it goes. And with the phases non-destructive, destructive, eventually you could say, hey, company 2 is going to go up there and you're going to do your own scenario. Now, one thing, the application part where the instructor came out, you had to create your own scenario to submit. So now we have a cache of, 60 of them?
like about 65, and that was
Oh,
kind
very
of,
good.
that was my backdoor approach to just getting more scenarios. So we instantly have a library
Of scenarios.
Of scenarios.
So you don't have to create one. You
Tell me general feedback that you've gotten.
Um,
Field feedback.
It's great. I mean, you probably see in the pictures, we try to smoke it up. We try to have officers use their tick, which usually you don't get a chance to do that because we have great people making the scenario itself, like Jerry and Nick. They
props.
use the props, and then they hear stuff and they adjust it. They're like, oh, that was too easy, or that was too hard, or that wasn't realistic. They're like, okay, we'll just keep adding to it to make it realistic.
Are we able to accomplish the task?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Well,
So
we've
it's
been
not,
pretty-
we're not setting people up to fail
Absolutely
and
not.
creating
Yeah.
that negative.
Yeah, the current about positioning, the current location isn't the best for that, but there is one in the pipeline that I think we're more truck based. So yeah, you'd
Yeah.
have a positioning opportunity. Yeah.
Feedback to you, Captain Wheeler.
I feel like it's been 100% with the units that come up, right? Because we ask them, as far as positioning, so this is scripted from start to finish, and to the instructors that we change roles in a day, except I stay the facilitator because it's
So
a
you're on
pilot.
site?
I'm on site all the time, and I meet the units out, I make the call. We have a book that we keep, we have a standard script that I'll call the company officer and go, you're scheduled to come up, I'm gonna go over the script with you, we tell them where to stage. We say, don't worry about it, just have fun with it. I'll be there. Just tell your driver to do what the driver would do, tell your ambulance crew to do whatever the ambulance crew would do.
And are people I mean, I don't want to be negative here, but people are embracing this?
Yeah.
I think it's phenomenal, right?
Yeah.
It's great that
Yeah.
we have it back.
Yeah.
The few that we've had to cancel just because there's things going on, not on our end, on the building end.
Stuff
And we got to be
happens.
very respectful of that, right? Because this particular United Therapeutics, who is letting us in there, they bought another building that they're more than willing to let us come into.
Okay.
And it's, once those hold harmlesses are created, you've created that relationship with the company, it's way easier to get in there. You can get in there faster and longer.
Right.
And that's the other idea for the non-destructive versus destructive platform.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to go in and beat stuff up, and it's like, I get it, but we're not gonna be, if we flow water, we gotta flow water towards the end, because we gotta think of mold issues and taking care of the property.
Yeah.
And this just.
And the
isn't
rumor
problem.
is, right now, right, that we're shut down.
Right,
Nobody's
yeah.
been up there.
Right.
So
Yeah.
on the street, it's, hey, there's mold or something I don't know why.
Right,
exactly, but-
broken pipe in the main, so we're waiting for them to feel comfortable. They were already doing some remediation in there in
So
separate
they're working
rooms.
with us. They're spending money on this structure so that we can come in there and smash it up.
Yep, Avi
awesome.
Halpert, who has been the point of contact, was Leadership Montgomery. He's
Which
been
I was
through
gonna say, yeah.
Leadership Montgomery,
Which is
was
important.
huge.
Probably came to
Because-
company too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Loves the fire.
Loves the fire department because the company too. But that's the thing. It was like that's important about those folks that come out in Leadership Montgomery, and I'm sure people
Yeah.
gripe about it. Like, oh, this guy's going to come out, but this is what opened the door for this high-rise structure.
You know, we
and
talked
structures
about
to
that
continue
less from the command post, right? Relationships.
Exactly.
Huge.
Relationships make the world go round. So
do.
that's great.
Yeah.
So the program is gonna stay in place. It's just where we're having it is going to change.
Correct. The way it's written up now, and we're waiting for final approval, and the instructors and everyone will see what the manual is, because this is going to be on our website. It should roll out soon. All the information you need would be on there. You can reach out to me anytime, but the whole idea is to make it a span of control for each battalion. So Battalion 1 might be able to have 1 or 2 on A shift, 1 or 2 on B shift, and it's going to depend on what we finally figure out. Eventually, the plan is to have them in different battalions, so we don't have to.
Them being what? Them being this-
Acquired structures,
Oh.
right? Different structures. So for example, if each battalion had one, now one of the issues of moving units too far from where they're at so they can respond back, we kind of button that up a little bit. And then if we want to backfill and send Battalion 5 to Battalion 1 so they can go to the Battalion 5 structure and do something different, we can have 5 different scenarios running at one time that we can facilitate from the academy. And then if people want to do company level training, those will be on different days, and there'll be a sign up. And then we would like to put together some academy, like just 3-hour short classes, like here's the skill, here's some skills, here's a scenario, button it up. We do 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon. That's the vision.
Yeah.
So if
exactly.
I'm, as a captain at Company 2, if I can call Captain Wheeler up, I can call you up and say, hey, in the West Mifflin area of Tacoma Park, I have a structure. You're going to come in and look at it and
Yes.
do all the stuff?
Yes.
So we're relying on our personnel to find these buildings or help you
We are,
find these buildings.
and talk about building relationships. One of the things we do right off the bat is I call safety. Captain Neal is our point of contact, because he did all the 1403 stuff, and we go in and we safety it right off the bat. Here's what we got. So if there's something like there's stairs and there's no railing on there, we'll put a railing up, and
Okay.
so we go through, this is gonna be off limits.
Good.
And in this particular structure, there were a few areas that looked like there might have been water. We we just X them out. We'll avoid those areas.
Okay.
And we're constantly reassessing. There's a safety plan and a training plan, and all this will be standard on the website. So you, as Captain Miller, will know, okay, Brady, I need you to, we're going to fill this out. If you want to run your own training plan and your own safety plan and your own, well, let me back up. If we don't have something, because we're creating a manual where you could say, we'd like to do scenario 6B, it's already there for you. It's good. The safety plan, the training plan will be in place. But if you want to create something different, we will now make it part
But
of our
you'll help
manual.
us go through that
We'll
stuff.
help you go through that. There's a standard training plan, a safety plan and everything, and now it becomes part
But
of
the
that
initial
living
step
manual.
is really reach out to you and say, hey, I have these buildings in my area.
Which I was going
Let's-
to mention, it was like if folks have them in the field already,
Yeah.
we have a letter that's already made for that point of contact. So it's like, just hand it over, Shelley will take it from there and basically make the hold harmless adjustable for that person.
Good. Awesome.
So
Yeah.
Chief Davis, you had a question, or we had a question?
It's being answered on there, so we're good.
Oh,
And you kind of answered it already, so.
Okay. So, and then the other thing about that, there'll be an intake form that will be initially, it will be a JOT form or whatever form, right now it's a JOT form where, Captain Miller can go on and it will say acquired structure on our PSTA website. And once we get it up and running, one thing we want to be better about is communicating it, like sending out an email or something from Chief Gibson to say, okay, everybody, acquired structure stuff is up. You'll have the initial intake form, you'll fill that out, then I can log the property and then we can start. And then I can remember who brought it to me and we'll coordinate. And the onus is really on you, like Captain Escalero said, you now are the liaison with that property owner. You take them the hold harmless, you give them all the paperwork you need, they facilitate things with you. Once that hold harmless is signed, I can answer any questions about the hold harmless, which is really right now what happens a lot. But again,
and
that's
that's
why.
probably a huge component, right?
It's huge, and that's why I trained the instructors on it. Because the more instructors we have, the more people we understand that
The
understand
faster
this
turnaround
program.
time, really. I would
Yes.
think the big downfall is, hey, I have a structure in the 1,000-block East-West Highway.
Yeah.
Now we're going to start in 3 months. Well, that's.
it's also the impact on operations, and that's her goal was to have multiple instructors in the battalion. So you could say, hey, you got 2 at Company 2, a couple at Company 1, let's get together. We don't have to facilitate the academy to get structures down. You have them in battalion already.
Instructors
And facilitators.
and structures.
And structures,
Structures,
exactly.
yes.
So it should just run on its own.
Do we anticipate getting back into the current structure we're using? Are we going to move on to Chief Goldstein's? I don't know what to call it. I'm just.
Yeah, no, that's, so.
He brought it to us.
Right,
Yeah,
he
exactly.
did. We're looking at February or March probably for that building right now. They're gonna even remediate it for us. And in the raise permit in Montgomery County, they have to go in and they have to abate asbestos and they have to abate lead. And that's what they're gonna do for us to make sure it's good to go in. So we're hoping February or March on that platform. Right
Do you have
now,
anything behind that?
I have one other one in Tens area that Captain Hall brought to me. He's an instructor.
So the field is doing this. The field is
Yes.
embracing this, and the field is bringing you places to train in.
Yeah, I think people are skeptical. They're afraid of, it might take long or whatever. And there is, we can't make any promises because when the attorneys are involved in that hold harmless, it just gets a little sticky. But we went back and forth with United Therapeutics. I went back and forth with Avi, and Avi went back and forth with his attorneys. The big thing is when people understand. That's where you want to get me involved early with the hold harmless. And typically what we've done in the past, we all meet on scene. If, you bring me this structure and this contact, we all meet there. We do the safety walkthrough at one time, make it as efficient as possible. I give my spiel about, look, we can work this up, we can work this down. If you just want us to do non-destructive, there are so many, we see now, and
Yep.
people were skeptical, but we see what we can do with non-destructive.
Yep.
We can do, the possibilities are endless.
Yep.
And sometimes that makes building owners feel better.
So I guess maybe I didn't understand the non-destructive, the step 1, 2, 3. Tell me about that.
Okay,
again.
so non-destructive is basically we go in,
Search and rescue.
search and rescue, yeah, mayday, pull and dry lines, positioning, all those kind of things. Destructive is forcing doors, breaching walls, any kind of breaching, flowing water, right? Because we got to control for mold. We got to keep our people safe. We got to keep the structure going as long as possible. Going from initially for a non-destructive to a destructive.
So progressive
gives us-
training.
Yes, and it gives us longer time in the building because we cannot, a lot of times we can't go in there until they get their raise permit or they don't want us going in there and being destructive. This platform right now, just so everyone knows, because some people are like, we didn't know, we weren't sure what we could do. This is a hybrid because we can force doors. And we can force doors right now, and then we can do everything that goes with non-destructive.
And this is probably going to change from structure to structure and
Yeah.
the amount of time we have and all of those types of
Correct.
Exactly.
That's why it's adaptable and scalable.
Awesome, awesome. Captain, thank you very much. I know our time is very limited here. I appreciate, I know everybody really does. I've heard good things about the program in my travels and my talking to other people. Thank you for the hard work, and definitely the people right in the field. If you know of something in your area, bring it to the training school,
Yep.
right?
Absolutely,
Exactly.
yep.
Thank you
Yep,
very
we'll
much.
get it done. Thank you for having
very
us.
much.
We
Both of you,
appreciate
thank
it.
you for
Yep.
coming. We're going to go ahead and real quick watch a video while we switch out presenters. So go ahead and play the video. All right, thank you. So we're really, at this point, we're into, I want to say, part 2 of our lithium ion battery discussion. I wasn't here in the first half. I did watch the show from an airport, and I thought it was really great information. First, I guess I should probably stop and introduce the panel. Battalion Chief Browning and is back, and Captain Riley are back to round out our discussion and really parlay this into the next thing, right? Which is the firefight, if you will, what we do, the operations. So let's start there. Let's start with the most basic thing, if we would. A scooter one of those lime green scooters that lay on the side of the road on Carroll Avenue. What do I do?
Yeah, so if it's basically protecting exposure, right? If it's near something, right, we want to protect exposure. But the easiest thing to do and the best thing to do is just let it burn.
Let it burn.
Let it go through its thing.
So
Go
that's
through-
hard to convince, though, the
Absolutely.
public and a bunch of firemen,
Absolutely.
right? That, hey, guys, just stand by, don't do anything, let's watch this burn.
Yeah.
That's honestly the best answer?
Yeah, so it's time and place dependent, right? So
Certainly.
we talked about exposures. If if it happens to be in an area where you can do that, then that probably is the easiest way to deal with it.
And what are we really doing when we're doing that? Are we allowing these chain reactions?
Yeah, you're letting the thermal runaway occur, kind of in a controlled environment by setting up a hot zone, right? So
Yeah.
these are hazmat calls. We've been pushing that these are hazmat calls. And if you can do that in a secluded area, that's fine, but we don't always have that option. But once it finishes, we're still gonna end up doing some kind of water application, and then an overpack scenario through hazmat and Maryland Department of the Environment, and going through those motions. But it's all about location and the risk that's posed for it. You're not always gonna be able to do that, but it is definitely a tactic
And
that
it's,
could
and
be.
it is okay, I get the public perception, right?
Certainly.
Is it okay to pull a hand line and spray some water on it? Sure, right? But are you gonna change anything that's occurring? Most likely not, This thing is gonna do its thermal runaway, whether you're putting water on it or not putting water on it. It's gonna go through what it has to go through. So if you wanna look good for the public, right on. You can pull a hand line and spray water, but it's still gonna do what it's gonna do.
So, Chief, you said something just now, really, in your response. Is this is a hazmat? Is this a hazmat call?
Yeah, absolutely. This is the department's direction from operations is that hazmat will be the SMEs for when
So
these
is
incidents
hazmat
occur.
dispatched on these runs?
So they're not, and that's where the assessment comes in early on.
Okay.
We
So
can't,
I didn't know that as a company officer. Captain
There's-
Miller did not know I was supposed to contact Captain Riley when I have a burning scooter on the side of the road.
yeah, so there's no CAD designation, there's no system designation for anything lithium ion battery that we could add to the dispatch. And let's be honest, like, somebody might say it and it could be wrong, right? So that's where we rely on the company officers
Okay.
a lot of times to assess the scene and figure out, hey, I'm dealing with lithium ion batteries that are causing a problem. They're either on fire, damaged, or going through the thermal runaway process.
Okay. And is it a consult to him? Do I pick up the radio consult? Or is he coming to Tacoma Park to put it in a overpack, I guess?
Yeah,
And
so-
I don't know what overpack is other than the pictures
Yeah.
from the last.
So a couple things. The company officer needs to identify that, right? That's part of that assess portion, right? We need to identify, do we have a lithium ion battery here involved, right? And if it is involved, you can call us on the radio, pick up the phone, call one of the multiple hazmat officers. We're pretty fortunate on A shift. We have about 7 of them. So it's pretty easy to get a hold of a hazmat officer if one of us are on a call or something. But
And
yeah,
you're coming down. I'll call you.
Yeah.
You're coming down.
Yep, I'm coming because we're making phone calls too. So I'm going to be calling MDE because they're going to take disposal of this. They're actually going to take
And that's where
this
that
away.
overpack comes into play. You put it in a barrel, you put some stuff in the barrel, and they haul it
So,
away.
so we will be at that point, but right now, MDE is the one that's doing it right now. We're
We've got,
getting it.
our equipment's on order, so
Yeah.
we will be
Okay.
able to take care of an immediate hazard here very soon, and then transfer that risk to Maryland Department of the Environment, who will take it away to be disposed of properly.
Okay, let's move the scooter to a vehicle. Pick X brand, Tesla.
Yeah,
just to pick
everybody's
one.
got 'em now.
Big one.
Yeah, I got a ton of them.
Right.
So is the same, tell me my firefight, Captain Riley, tell me my attack on a Tesla fire
Yeah. So
in Tacoma Park.
So your attack might be different than an attack out in Poolsville, for example, right? So if you're out in Poolsville in the middle of a field or on a road with field surrounding you,
That might be the let it burn.
absolutely. You're in Tacoma Park, next to a building or near buildings, high rises, whatever it may be, you're gonna have to fight that fire just like you would a normal vehicle fire, just to keep it suppressed for a while.
So what am I actually suppressing? The thermal runaway,
No,
what
you're,
am I?
so if that vehicle is damaged and the batteries are in thermal runaway, then the batteries are actually burning and basically they're miniature bombs and they're blowing up.
Yeah.
Is what's occurring.
Yeah.
Right? Which causes the vehicle, so a standard vehicle fire to occur. So you have-
Contents, cushions,
Right, so you
whatever,
have a
plastic.
little bit of both, right?
Everything.
Yeah, so you still have to do your standard attack, what you normally would do, but you're not gonna fully put that vehicle fire out, right? And if you do put it out, the potential for it to reignite is real. Like, that's really gonna happen. So,
It's almost like magnesium block kind of.
yeah, like that old school kind of thing.
Yeah, but worse.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bad gases.
So when I'm thinking about this, right, and I rewatched the last presentation, and I'm like, what do I have? So these batteries are contained, right? I mean, they are. They're designed like they're asphalt shingles, right? The asphalt shingle is designed not to allow water in the structure. So the batteries are encased.
Yep.
How do I get to that? I don't. So I just allow this to happen to,
So we have options, right? So,
and you brought this.
yeah, so this is one of the options that we're currently
Tell me what this
going
is.
with. So,
So,
Chief can probably go on
yeah,
with
so
this.
coming to a firehouse soon, right? So small tools invested in some piercing nozzles for other applications, and also a distributor nozzle. Task Force Tip is the brand that they went with. And Captain Poyce reached out to me, like, hey, they have this EV, electric vehicle set up. What do you think? So I went up there one morning and we kind of played with it. So
And
the-
so what we're looking at on screen is really
can you
just
go to
another.
can you go to the other picture? AV. There we go. So that's
This is what we have in front of us.
that is correct. So that is what the department is moving towards supplying the engine companies. From what Captain Poyce told me, the beginning deployment model is each of the battalion engines. So 12, 20, 25, 32, 34 will be the first to get these at some point once they finish the logistics and the training aspect of it. But this distributor nozzle that Silver Spring and Chief Fitch had kind of looked at down there for specialty applications, the distributor nozzle itself has the ability to go under an electric vehicle, create the amount of water that you need to keep things cool with the battery packs, and stop the propagation of thermal runaway from one cell to the other. It's basically a holder
It's really a
under
fixed,
there.
it appears to me to be a.
It is, so it's not your standard distributor that we remember,
Yeah.
three up, three down.
Three make it go
Yeah.
around.
Make it go around, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
all of those each are like a little mini distributor. It has a very good water current, and we're looking at, in the vehicle world, just keeping water on, and we understand there's under parts of cars, right? But we're trying to keep the area cool so it doesn't propagate. The demos and the science from the manufacturers that are using these are showing that it does have a benefit.
So
to-
there's no piercing part. to
Not,
this.
there is, but not on this setup. So
Okay.
there'll be something else coming from the department.
And we would physically pierce
No.
whatever contained the cells.
Yeah, so we're not, so take the piercing part out of it.
Okay.
This is just the piercing part is a adapter, basically, that can be used for other applications, not for electric
Okay.
vehicle applications. So we're looking for the distributor to just cool the areas surrounding batteries that might be in thermal runaway from underneath, or whatever position is. And what this does is it gives us distance to get water underneath of a vehicle, and it allows us to do it without jacking a car up, using a rescue squad or a tow truck to jack a car up in an awkward position so you can get a hand line flowing underneath. It takes that away. So the reviews and the demos that council governments, all the jurisdictions have looked at, seem to be positive. The science behind it seems to be positive as far as helping us with that. Application-wise, not every engine company is going to have that, so we're going to need to
Do you
know.
think we're gonna get to the point where we're gonna only send?
No, because,
712
so
on-
here's the other thing.
Uh,
Here's the other thing. You alluded to, right? So we put the fire out. Captain Riley said that. We need to basic
Context.
firefighting measures, put the fire out, and then we're just trying to keep the battery cells cool upwards of 45 minutes in some aspects
Really?
to allow it to be towed away safely, working with that. The other part of extinguishment is the smoke, right? So in our risk assessment, the smoke's nasty stuff. And maybe it is better to put the scooter out if the smoke's drifting into downtown Silver Spring or downtown Rockville. The car fire is going to put out an excessive amount of smoke and products of thermal runaway. So
and I
we're,
really
we're
wanna touch
stopping
on
that
also.
process.
I wanna touch on that also, but let's almost wait till the end.
Yep.
Because I think that smoke component, that EMS component, really plays in.
Yeah.
But we also have things for that smoke, to help with that smoke,
Yeah.
right?
So
So we,
let's do this let's do that component at the end, because we had talked about it when Chief Kaufman was here, briefly.
Right.
And he wanted to.
Yep, we'll hit that.
To help everybody. So we're putting contents out, we're keeping battery cool.
yep.
Really.
We have a blanket that is carried on the hazmat units for vehicles. We can also
And we
use it.
saw that video.
Yeah, so we can
last
also
episode.
use it on smaller, the e-scooters and stuff like that if we need to as well. So
What is that blanket doing?
basically just holding everything in, suppressing it.
Suppresses.
Is it actually reduce the temperature?
So not so much, the thermal runaway is still happening underneath of it, but it's suppressing it, keeping some of that hazard contained behind it, and then suppressing the smoke also
Okay.
From large-scale movement
Okay.
away from where the fire is.
So that's a big thing for those downtown areas, right?
Yeah.
You know, downtown Bethesda, Silver Spring, Rockville, stuff like that.
The residential parking garage.
Okay. So, say there's thermal runaway in the same vehicle that, and I'm sure it's all over YouTube. I just haven't watched
Right.
it. What kind of time frame might we be looking at? And you used the 45-minute. Is that
So the current best practice that we know out there is you extinguish the fire, you keep it cool and look for no signs of thermal runaway, either visually or thermal imager, for approximately 45 minutes. That's
so? This is
currently.
going to be an extended
It's
operation.
it's a campaign operation to an extent, where you need to have your water supply in place. You need to have eyes on it. Now, if I'm blocking the beltway during rush hour, can I knock it, get it to a point where I sweet talk the tow truck driver to get it off to the side or get it off to the ramp, and we just shut a ramp down? That's part of this assessment and control piece, that every situation's gonna be different, and you're gonna have to work around that. So, but 45 minutes is the current thing in the industry.
And our HMOs are going to help walk me through all of those types of things, right?
Yeah, and the crazy part is things are changing every
Every day.
every
Yeah,
day,
you said
right?
that the last time.
Right.
So
So-
we're still experiencing that. So maybe when we get into the little stuff, right? Like maybe you can throw the scooter into a puddle or a bucket of water or something. We're still learning pieces of this that other departments are experiencing. Again, FDMY is kind of the primo.
Are they the
running
leader
the
just because of the
the
quantity?
quantity of incidents?
I mean, it's crazy the amount they're running.
Okay.
Boston's starting to see some. I know they both have pretty specific policies. They also have help internally, right? Like they have other departments on board. We do to an extent, DPS and DGS for helping out with stuff. The police departments for us, we're going to have to work with the police officer when we get there. You may have to make that initial contact. Hey, this is an electric.
That old relationship thing.
This
we
is an electric
really talked
vehicle.
about the last couple of episodes.
I'm
right?
gonna have New Hampshire Avenue shut down
Yeah.
for a while until we figure this out.
Yeah.
I got hazmat on the way or whatever.
So now this spins into a structure, right? We did a scooter, we did a vehicle, we're doing a structure. Wherever. What's our attack
Yeah, so,
look like? The same thing really as a vehicle?
well,
We're putting the contents out? and-
so we just watched a video, right, that started this thing off that had a scooter being overheated for an hour and a half, and then it does its thing and goes into thermal runaway, and you have a rapidly developed fire within minutes, basically, of this occurring. So you might not know that that's your cause of problem, right? You don't know that sometimes. All you know is there's a house fire. That might not be in the notes. It says
Yeah.
it's a thermal runaway or whatever, you know? So you need to go in there and treat it as you would a structure fire.
Does it look any different than, I don't
So
want to say
I-
a room and contents, but a room
So,
and contents
no,
fire?
because I think when you see it starting off, you're gonna see that it gives that white smoke, but you're not gonna be there for that.
Yeah.
You're not gonna be there when that occurs. You know, you're gonna be there 7 minutes after this occurs, and now you have a fully developed fire. So you're gonna treat that as your structure fire. Do all the same things, but once that fire is out, we're asking officers to recognize, okay, do I have an e-scooter here? I mean, do I even have a laptop here? You know, I mean, it could be something as simple as that, a cell phone.
Cell phone.
Right. So.
Chief Davis brought up, what was a laptop on an airplane.
Right. And Detroit just had, they just released a video, home video of a cell phone being charged in a kitchen, starting a fire. So you're not necessarily going to know that right away, but that's when it needs to.
This is a cell phone that we're looking at right now?
That's the laptop.
That's the laptop. That's actually an incident we have run since the last time we were
Yeah.
here.
Oh, really?
We've run
Yeah.
2 laptop fires in Montgomery County, both in the Bethesda area. This one, a child in a school sat on the laptop, set it into thermal runaway.
They, just a heat from his
In,
butt.
in the classroom,
Damaged it.
the damage, he basically damaged it, and it went into thermal runaway. They evacuated, the teacher grabbed it, ran outside, threw it on the sidewalk, and the alarm.
Did she recognize it, or she just wanted to get the
So
burning
he-
backpack out of the classroom?
He was able to relay that information, but it went out as a fire alarm. And they got that updated information, and Captain 11 and we had an HMO riding truck 6 were able to capture that information and start making some decisions early on. So kudos on them for recognizing
Yeah.
what was going on. But I mean, that was a laptop. In,
Everybody
in,
has
in
a
a school with a
laptop.
bunch of kids, right?
Grandma has a
Yeah,
laptop.
you look
now,
at your
right?
cell phone,
Yeah.
right? And so we're just asking the officer to recognize that, right? Take a look around, you know,
But my initial approach, my pulling up to the scene, my smoke isn't gonna, well, I guess by that time, it's gonna have contents also.
Right.
So it's gonna look like a regular fire.
yeah, you're not gonna know unless somebody specifically said. So I think the one engine, high-rise, fire they had down there, I believe they told them, hey, the scooter caught on fire. But they might not know
Was there an
that.
after action with that? I don't
think
know.
so.
I don't
Not yet,
know.
is there?
Not
No.
yet.
So,
But the initial company, and you might know, Chief, their initial actions were no different than
Structure fire based,
yeah. And then.
high rise IRP
IRP
based,
driven.
with a patient, with a victim.
Okay. So now I guess that really kind of takes us into that next component, the EMS side. We highlighted last episode, hey, this smoke, this is nasty
Yeah.
stuff.
Well, we need the officer to know, right? So if it's inside that compartment that is on fire and anything with a lithium ion battery is damaged or has any type of, if it's in the same compartment as the fire, it needs to be sent out immediately. Get out.
What does?
The battery. Whatever, if it's a scooter.
Out of the structure?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And when we do that, we want to have full SCBA on the entire time. Because like you're leading to.
So I'm picking this scooter up and I'm going down 4 flights of steps and throwing it on the
Well,
sidewalk in
and
downtown.
see,
Silver
that's where
Spring.
it's gotta be, you gotta kind of use your head there, right?
Okay.
And you might have to come up with something out of the box to get it out. Attach it to a rope,
Like Chief
take it
Davis
down.
said, we'll just throw it out the window.
yeah.
Question.
So there's some discussion about towing. We're not into towing business, it's normally a cop thing, right? So I would assume, one of the questions came up like, hey, where should they be towed to?
So as far as towing goes, we do not have any current relationships with any towing companies. We usually work through the police department. We may be looking at some stuff for some specialty items to assist us, such as parking garages, but we're not there yet. So as of right now, I would rely on the police or the building responsible party to get a tow
And
company.
it would be identification and,
Yeah, and.
hey, this is an electric vehicle. Do-
Correct. Here's what's going on. We're gonna keep water and our imager on it for however many more minutes. As long as I don't see anything, are you good with taking it away? Yes, we are good, or, that's where we might deploy our blanket and maybe do a parade to their tow lot or another safe area.
Do we
Um,
think our tow truck drivers are, is
so you-
this
I don't know.
active in the tow truck driver world? I don't.
I don't know. I've talked to some of my friends in the towing business and they're okay with it, but others might not be so keen to put something that, again,
It's
that's where
ability to communicate. once
That's where
again,
this
right?
45 minutes comes in, right?
Okay.
Like, hey, this thing hasn't done anything, we don't think it's gonna do anything. However, once you get it to your tow lot, this is probably the bigger piece for unit officers and police officers and command officers. Once you get it out of here, the standard right now is 50 feet from anything else. And they just need to know that so they don't light off the
Meaning if
junkyard.
that happens to begin a cycle of
Yep.
thermal runaway.
Yep.
An exposure.
Correct.
Okay. So now we have, let's talk really about the EMS component. What's this smoke doing?
So, you wanna hit it, or
Yeah,
you wanna
so.
start off and I'll finish?
Yeah, so the smoke is some really bad stuff, plain and simple, right? We don't need to get too technical, we don't need to get all advanced.
No.
It's bad stuff. If we're around it, we need to be wearing SCBA. But just like the incident down in 11's area, the teacher carried that laptop outside, inhaling this,
Potentially inhaling.
yeah, this smoke. Well, that's bad stuff. It's going to start taking you down, trouble breathing, going down that road.
So early EMS
Yes.
intervention
Like
is vital.
Right. We don't want really a sign refusal from this person if possible. We want to coach this person to go to the hospital because they could show symptoms right then, or it could be 36 to 48 hours
Yeah,
later.
24, 36, 72 hours later, they
Yeah.
could start developing those issues. And that's kind of a learning piece that I know EMS is focusing on.
Yeah, and they might be chiming in now.
Actually, Chief Kaufman sent me a couple things that, from their side. So, the one thing in the smoke that we're dealing with, so I'm not a paramedic, I just play one on
Captain
TV.
Riley worked at one engine. He's
And,
half a medic already. So. He'll answer.
So HF hydrofluoric acid, right? Like we know that's in the smoke and in the battery components, right? So there's a skin issue with that. And an inhalation issue with that. So one thing that's coming from EMS is for paramedics is a tool with calcium gluconate that's going to be carried on the EMS duty vehicles and the hazmat units that can be deployed if somebody has an HF exposure, which we think could occur through the smoke from these lithium ion
So
battery
not only are we
fires.
getting specialized equipment, we're getting specialized EMS equipment for that
Or-
side of that entire
Correct, and there's
side.
other HF hazmat stuff out there that could affect us, but that's kind of the focus with the lithium ion, is that could be an issue that needs to be addressed by providers, and it's mostly an ALS thing. All I can say is that EMS is gonna have some supplemental training on the equipment once they get it, and that'll be
But
coming down.
again, early
But-
recognition or
Absolutely,
recognition that it's present, it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
We need to deal with
Correct.
people.
And here's the scary part, right? And here's what scares us as hazmat team members is engine company, truck company, they go in there, you put the fire out, you do your thing. We start doing our overhaul policy and everything, and maybe we're at a good point where we have good ventilation, right? Ventilation is key in dealing with these inside of a compartment. And then one of these goes off into thermal runaway, and our members, our personnel, inhale this nasty stuff, and now we might be using some of this EMS equipment on our, so we have to lower that risk by, again, recognizing is
Recognition.
huge for you as the captain, right?
Yeah.
Like, hey, you know what? Yeah, this whole kitchen was off. And then
Then there's a laptop on the
the
counter.
scooter or the laptop was parked here and it took heat, right? Like, so
Yeah.
that's a concern. And if you have those, the questions can be worked with hazmat. So that's where that hazmat notification comes in, to work with them on a plan, right? It might be throw it off the second floor balcony. It might be more intricate. Hey, we put it in an overpack, we carry it down the
Is
stairs.
this overpacked drum? I saw it.
There's a couple different
55-gallon
sizes.
drum, right?
So-
Is it just preventing from going anywhere?
So we're basically encasing the problem of the lithium ion
Okay.
thermal runaway.
And then if it does go again, it's
Yeah, there's still a chance that it could go. That's why we say that suppression capability is huge wherever we're taking this until we can send it with MDE or a battery contact.
Yeah, so as you're moving it, we want full SCBA, and we potentially want a hand line there, right? We want some type of extinguishing agent. That way, if something does happen.
Water.
We're protecting ourselves, right? Yeah,
And our agent right now is water.
Water.
just strictly water for the.
Water,
Yep.
water is known as the best
Yep.
agent to, and
Go
you're basically,
figure.
again, you're not, yeah, right? You're not stopping thermal runaway, you're keeping it in check.
Yeah.
Yes. But we want to get it out, right? That's the big thing. Get it out. And I know there's some discussion, FEI and stuff like that with, okay, well, if that's the cause, we don't want to move it, right? We've always been taught, like, if we
Yeah,
think that
we
that's
might
the
have to in this
cause.
case.
Yeah.
Is that going to be another thing that I'm considering, or?
That's a conversation that needs to occur with, hey, if FEI is involved in the investigative part. We've also, after the Silver Spring incident, dealing with private investigators for insurance companies, right? Like they want to see all the stuff too, but a lot of people don't recognize the hazards that are being presented. I think they're getting out there, right?
Yeah.
We know what they are now, that they're there, and we're able to work around those. So that's, relationships matter. That's
Yeah.
a conversation with the investigator or whoever of, hey, we have to do this because we need to make the area safe. Can you grab a couple pictures before we go or whatever? So you got to be prepared for it, I think, is the big thing.
Chief, any questions from online? Okay, with that being said, guys, thank you I know you spent time originally. I had some questions. I wanted you to come back. Thank you for coming back and just talking about, the operations component of these batteries.
And just real quick, the hazmat team has a standard operating guideline to assist on these incidents. So I would ask that any additional questions, reach out to the hazmat officers
The
working on your
HMOs.
shift, and they'll
But
be
we
able
don't
to guide
have.
you.
Are
We do not have a
we going to
specific
build one into our IRP? Do you know?
TBD.
Okay.
TBD. We're trying to get information out there for unit officers to use and apply, and then kind of force the call after the initial knockdown, force the call towards the hazmat.
But our
to
hazmat
deal
team
with.
does have a policy in place.
Correct.
Okay.
And so do our regional partners, so we're working together to keep up to date on stuff.
Chief, Captain, thank you for coming back so much. I do want to I have one thing to say as we wind down. Next week, we will be back here with another hybrid of From the Command Post. It will be about the Quince Orchard gas explosion. Both myself and Chief Cooper will moderate the roundtable discussion. So until then, thank you. Stay safe.